Good morning, I'm Ling, the examiner in today's speaking test. So, can I have your ID, please? Thank you. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Let's talk about work and study. Do you work or study? Actually, I've been a postgraduate student for a number of years. Now I'm working as a full-time teacher for a language teaching company. How much time do you spend studying daily? As I mentioned before, I'm a full-time teacher, so the majority of my time is spent on teaching and giving feedback to students. The evening is the only time I really have to relax, and I attend a psychology class twice a week. Let's talk about cars. Do you like to travel by car? Oh yes, it is uncomfortable for me to travel on hot days because I reside in a tropical nation where the average temperature is pretty high. Not only that, but it's a pretty humid and dirty city too. Since cars have air conditioning, driving can be more comfortable, but is often more stressful. I typically drive when I have to travel anywhere remote because it's faster and more convenient than any other type of transportation. Do you like to sit in the front or back when traveling by car? To be honest, I always get car sick, so I prefer the front seat for a more comfortable journey. When sitting there, I can doze off whenever I want and don't bother any other people who need quiet space. Moreover, I can observe the surroundings areas. Now I'm going to give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you will have 1 minute to think about what you are going to say, and you can make some notes if you wish. Do you understand? Yes, and here are the pen and paper. And here is your topic. I'd like you to describe a time you visited a new place. You should say where the new place is, when you went there, why you went there, and explain how you feel about the place. So a month ago, I took a 4-day trip to a province in the middle of Vietnam with my family and relatives. So we went there in a convoy of many kinds of vehicles. It took me a half an hour to get to the train station, and it took us about a quarter of an hour to register at the check-in counter, which was really frustrating as it was super hot. The longest time for me was when we spent over 10 hours getting to our final destination. The worst part is that my little sister got car sick, which is absolutely awful when you're in the same car. After that, we were picked up by some coaches and stayed in a 4-star hotel. Between the tourist attractions, we mainly traveled by coach and sometimes by electrical car, which was a first for me. Given that it had been a while since I had a vacation and that I needed to take a break from work, I thoroughly enjoyed my stay here. Although the province itself has a rich and fascinating history, we went to the local museum to learn more. We didn't do any sightseeing because my parents hated. But I read a lot of books and went swimming a lot, though I must admit that the water was much cooler than I had anticipated. Along with enjoying the delectable meals, I also delighted in sunbathing and working on my tent. My best friend was so jealous when I got back. The thing that I enjoyed the most, however, was the live music every evening from semi-famous local bands. They really blew my dad away with their cover versions. We've been talking about a new place, and I would like now ask you some questions related to this. How do children react when they are in a new place? Well, depending on the child, the adjustment can become more difficult as they grow older. Introverted kids can often struggle. Conversely, we must be careful about stereotypes, as there are plenty of introverted children with incredible resilience and adaptability to new situations. Children about the age of 5, in my opinion, start to hone their social abilities and personalities. They also start to form strong friendships and social circles. I guess it's at around this stage of development where we would be reasonably able to assess a child's capacity to deal with the unfamiliar. Why do students study in a new place, in a different city, or even in another country? I think the biggest motivation for most young people is to challenge themselves in a new environment. And this directly relates to what we were discussing earlier, right? Like certain people will want to move to new places, broaden their horizons, and give themselves another perspective. Other people prefer to stay closer to home and to establish roots and connections there, where their families tend to live. One of the effects of globalization and industrialization, in my opinion, is that increasing numbers of people will be forced to move further away from their homes, both for work and education. Thank you. That is the end of the speaking test for IELTS.